last several years, I've had the honor to call Teddy a colleague, a counselor, and a friend. And even though we have known this day was coming for some time now, we awaited it with no small amount of dread.
Joining me right now is Joan Walsh of Salon and Newsweek's Jonathan Alder, who's also an MSNBC political analyst. Let's do a little political business. The other day, Rush Limbaugh, in his inimitable fashion, said that I had done something he would have gotten in trouble for. Please explain. I need a biblical exegesis for this. I said that last year Ted Kennedy passed the torch of the Kennedy Brotherhood to Barack Obama, making him the next Kennedy. And it was so clear to everybody that's what was going on. In fact, we put it in the documentary. He said if he had said something like that, he would have been accused of making an ethnic slur because I used the word brother. Even though in terms of the brotherhood, I pointed out I'm not using this. I said it at the time. Not in an ethnic sense, not in a racial sense. Brother in the sense of sibling brother, actual brother.
Right.
And he jumped up and made himself into a victim again. What is the matter with these people? Can't they take a week off, Jonathan? Just take a week off. It's a funeral. Take a week off from politics.
Look, he's one of the. If Ted Kennedy's one of the great senators of our time, Rush Limbaugh takes the crown as the great blowhard of our time. There's nobody who would have criticized Rush Limbaugh if he had talked about a brother, because there's so many other things to criticize him for, other outrageous things that he says almost every day on the radio. So he's just blowing
I think it's an attempted victimhood.
He loves the victimhood. I don't understand it. I mean, he's also got all that anxiety about having to bend over for Obama. I always bring that up.
That's a cutie.
Yeah, it's cute. He shows his anxiety in every way, and what you said was the highest praise for Obama. There was nothing ethnic, nothing racial in it. It was just what happened.
It was my highest tribute, Rushbo. Let me ask you, do you think he's rooting for Donovan McNabb or Michael Vick now? Because having spent a good part of his broadcasting and sports career saying that McNabb doesn't have it, do you think he's going to be rooting for him to lose the starting lineup QB spot in Philly?
You take that.
Yeah, he probably go for the dog killer in that one.
Let me ask you about this attempt at footsteps here on the part of the right to interrupt this. I called them ghouls a few minutes ago.
Right.
Grave robbers. They're trying to get into this story by saying the Democrats are going to do a win one for the Gipper kind. Well, to me, if Audie Murphy served his country in fighting for us, we'd say, well, let's try to do something as well.
Right.
Let's try to be equally courageous. If somebody dies in a battle, you say, well, let's try to carry it on, carry the banner forward. That seems to be very American. Well, they're turning that on the right as some kind of, well, they better not try that.
We've seen this before. The year was 1964. John F. Kennedy had been assassinated, and Lyndon Johnson said, let's pass the Civil Rights Act as a memorial to the slain president.
Continue.
Right.
And the right wing at that time said that it was improper. The bill was passed, and Ted Kennedy told me once that it was one of the top 3 accomplishments of the United States Senate in, all the years that he was there, the Civil Rights Act of 64.
Of course it was. And, passing a great health care reform bill would be another signature compliment, and he deserves it. And no one's dictating what should be in the bill, but to say that that's playing politics is just ridiculous. That is what the man stood for.
Isn't it funny that people have memories that's so slight, the ADD that overcomes them? Not in a clinical or medical sense, but just in political sense. How many times in our lives in the last 20 or so years have you heard the phrase, win one for the Gipper?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's hilarious. It's a hoot.
It's synonymous.
And now they're saying, don't do what we do.
I'll give you another example of that. You hear a lot of the conservatives nowadays are saying, we've got to stop this health care bill to protect seniors, right? They're pandering. They're pandering on
keep
Medicare.
Government out of
These
medical.
were the folks who did everything they could to stop Medicare, and as recently as last year, they were trashing Medicare, and now they're arguing that this bill has to be defeated to defend Medicare. It's insane.
So they're acting like the people in those first lifeboats getting off the Titanic, beating off the other survivors so that they don't crowd the boats, right?
Absolutely. It is ghoulish. It's truly ghoulish. I know it'll be a wonderful memorial. I know it will. Senator Kennedy deserves that. I don't see anyone booing the Republicans. I'm not a booer. I'm a baseball fan. I don't even boo the Dodgers. I think that's wrong. But if they're going to make a big deal...
You won't be too welcome in Philly.
I actually like the Phillies, Chris.
I'm talking about the fans and the way we like to boo.
I want to go back to that great Norm Coleman victory.
Let me go back to a couple of people. Speaking tonight, Caroline Kennedy, who's not a politician. That's established. Joe Biden, who is certainly. John Culver, former senator from Iowa, good friend of Teddy's. I think roommates at Harvard. Tommy Menino, the great senator. Mumbles, they call him, the mayor from up there. Brian Stokes Mitchell will give the greatest political speech of the night, which will be the Impossible Dream speech, when he sings that song. You know that? That's going to be the inspiring moment tonight. Joan?
That was my dad's favorite song, so it's very moving.
And I've heard him give that song. John Kerry's going to, an Orrin Hatch. So among the Republicans tonight in this, apparently this partisan festival, the voices you're going to hear are Orrin Hatch of Utah, John McCain of Arizona. So I don't think they can really put this down as a Paul Wellstone funeral.
Well, Hatch makes it really hard, you know. And Hatch and Kennedy had a really special relationship, and Kennedy was there for Hatch. He showed up in Utah at a funeral of somebody very close to Orrin Hatch, and from that day on, the two really connected. And they worked together on a lot of legislation, but even when they bitterly opposed each other on the substance, they were very close personally.
Do you have a sense that this death of Ted Kennedy will have any effect whatsoever on whether we get a deal on health care?
I hope
a deal that makes the liberals happy enough, the conservatives mollified enough that something can get through?
Honestly, I mean, Jonathan and I may differ on this. I don't think he's going to get Republican votes, even if he throws the public option overboard. If they push for some kind of co-op compromise, they will fight that. They are fighting everything. And I do want to say I appreciate and honor Senator Kennedy's friendship with Orrin Hatch, but there's been an element of trying to drag out Ted would have made this work. You know, Hatch and McCain had the chance to vote for Ted Kennedy's bill in Ted Kennedy's committee.
So McCain was on that health committee. He could have voted for it. Let me ask you this. I am still a believer that it's possible to get the 60 in the Senate and 218 in the House with smart legislation thinking here. Maybe a one or two step process. Maybe not done everything a trigger of some kind of major historic commitment to health care for everybody, an enrollment of everyone to start with, and all the reforms. Maybe not everything in the first grab. What do you think?
I think so, too. And I agree with Joan that it's not going to be done with significant Republican support, but they're going to need a couple. They're going to need Olympia Snowe and maybe Susan Collins.
By definition, they need at least one.
Yeah, right. And they're going to need those moderate Democrats, some of whom are getting unenthusiastic, like Joe Lieberman. So the idea that somehow this is going to be rammed through with everything that the Democrats want is unrealistic, and it's also un-Ted Kennedy.
Okay, let me
he
tell
took
you.
what he could get.
What's the biggest, John, and then Joan, what's the big, I'll give you my premise. That's the way we do things on cable television. I tell you what I think, and they say, do you agree or not? I think the key's within the Democratic Party. They ought to have a meeting of their caucus and write a bill. And if they can get 60, they're going to get somebody from Massachusetts appointed in the next couple of weeks. That's going to happen. They're not going to let that stay. They're going to get 60 Democratic senators. The question is, can they get those 60 Democratic votes? That's the key to me. And I wonder if they can do that, they're going to have a bill. It's as simple as that. 60 Democrats will make this happen. Will they get them?
I think they will, but they're going to have to tell the liberals, particularly on the House side, that this idea of drawing a line in the sand and saying it's public option or bust, that they cannot vote for a bill that does not include a public option, is the opposite of the direction they need to go. I'm strongly in favor of a public option. They should push for it all the way. But if they can't get it, if the system doesn't allow that, they have to do what FDR did, what LBJ did, and what Ted Kennedy did over and over again, and that is not let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
I think they need to make our insurance companies public utilities, like Krauthammer said in his column today.
Yeah.
They need to regulate them and keep their profits down.
That would be great.
And that's another way to keep them competitive. Treat them like gas companies or electric companies.
But there are not 60 votes for that either, and we really have to face it. And I'm going to be the diehard liberal here, and you guys can both blame me.
But you don't want a bill, that's fine.
I want a bill.
You don't want a bill?
I do. I want
a bill. Be a bill when you're playing it that way, though.
Well, I disagree with you. I think that it would be a terrible thing to have a bill.
How are you going to get 60 votes?
I don't know. I'm praying to Teddy. I'm saying my prayers.
It'll still be a great bill, Joan. There's many other extremely important things. It ends discrimination against sick people.
Wait, we're going to go on.
John's right, John's wrong. Up next, Keith Olbermann and Rachel Maddow are going to join me to preview tonight's memorial for Senator Ted Kennedy. This is Hardball, only on MSNBC.